I'll edit this part out. Then we're good to go. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Always Moving podcast. I'm your host, Lyndon Suvanto, and today we finally got a guest, Greg Chauvet. You may have heard me talk about him in a podcast here or there. And Greg, say hey, introduce yourself. What's going on, brother?
Hello, everybody, and thank you very much to Lyndon for having me on today. It is my pleasure to join this man, and we get to just talk about a few things today and have a good time, and hope you enjoy.
Yeah, shoot the shit and just see what's up, you know.
There we go.
Yeah, so I guess as you know, in all my podcasts, I start with fantasy football or just football in general. You're making a push? You're going to win it this year or what? In our keeper league?
I'm going for it, but I'll tell you one thing who's not, because just got a little story to share about my friend Dushin, who you've also heard on the podcast before. So this guy last week, he's right on the cusp of making the playoff push, and he decides to start Denver's practice squad wide receiver at quarterback, proceeds to get negative points, and starts him over Mike Evans on the bench. A couple touchdowns. Needless to say, he lost. Oh, Dushin. I'm sorry. I had to bring it up.
he refers to himself as Mr. Strategy, but sometimes, I don't know. We when we lived in Denmark, I hosted like a Survivor, like the TV show, and we had the hidden immunity idols, and he had one. And the entire tribal council, they knew Dushin's getting voted for. He's gone. And they all knew he had the idol. And I knew he had the idol. And I'm like, this guy's got to play it. Like, this guy's got to play it. And I'm like, this is the last chance to play the immunity idol. And he just sits there like, and I'm just like, well, homeboy's gone. And I think except for him, everybody voted for him, and he was just pissed. And I'm like, man, why did you not play it? Like, everyone knew it was you. And so I think this is the same shit with, like, when I played against you in a different league and you had Taysom Hill, quarterback with the tight end. And so he's like, oh, I could get this other quarterback and play him, get an extra points. And I'm so glad that didn't work.
Thanks for the free 25 points, Taysom. Good tight end for the week.
That was bullshit. I even went, I'm like, oh, maybe he's got this tight end thing. He's already on your team. I'm like, oh, that's good. That's good.
I think Dushin should be passing on his strategy to somebody else.
Maybe Mr. Strategy should go, back to basics for a little bit here. Go back and just revamp his initial strategy and technique. So,
facts.
Before I get started on what I kind of wanted to talk to you about today, I had sent you a text and I said, think about who you are as a person and as an athlete. And there was a reason to this, because I just thought, what do I think of myself and how would this work? Because I've been playing a lot of NBA on PlayStation, and like we have an NBA fantasy draft, and we played some summer basketball together and stuff. If you were if you were a rookie getting drafted and you had the interviews with like a general manager or a coach or something, like how would you describe yourself as a player and like as a person type thing? So if you're trying to sell yourself, but you're trying to be humble about it, I feel like it's a good insight on you as a person to describe yourself as an NBA prospect, and then maybe a player comp, who you think you are on the court.
Oh, absolutely. I think being an athlete has pretty much shaped who I am, because just right from when I was young, growing up all the way through, I've played different sports, whether it be volleyball and basketball and rugby growing up, and then transitioning more into handball, and just now playing sports more on a fun but still competitive level. Because you can't just play for fun at the end of the day, right? You're always trying to get
it gets to that one point where you're like, okay, this is on. Like, it's on.
Feeling the waters first about 3 minutes, it's on.
Yeah.
Especially when you're getting bodied down in the paint by Lyndon and just doing everything you can to keep them out.
I was thinking about the same question for myself, and like what I would say was my strength as like the basketball player, and it's just rebounds and just bully ball. I suck at everything else, but damn, get me in the paint and you're going to feel it.
Putting a double-double up with fouls and rebounds. That's all you need.
With like a 20% field goal percentage and 28 rebounds.
Absolutely. But no, I just think sports teaches you so much as a person, and it teaches you so many values in life about teamwork, about cooperation, about dedication. And it's just, I think those things are just so, it's something that you apply to your everyday life. But I think you just really got to sell that at the end of the day, you're there in a team sport like that, you're there for the team, and you're doing whatever you can to help your team win, whatever role the coach may put you in that day, and it may change, and just being so adaptable and flexible and upfront with your teammates. And there's nothing better than a team that's close together and closely knit and good friends with everybody. I think that goes so far, and it's left unsaid in a lot of situations.
Yeah, because I think for myself as a goalie, because you're a court player and stuff, but as a goalie, there's 2-3 of us max, and I've always had a good relationship with my goalie partner, and it's just like, if I'm off, that guy goes in, I'll get off the court and I'll be pissed, but at the end, you just, okay, let's go. Like, let's get this win. I may have screwed it up. Go out there and help me out, bail me out because I completely blew it. And I've blown plenty of games where I've needed the other goalie to help me out. So,
yeah, that goes to saying as a court player too. Like, some days you're going to be the guy putting up 10, 12 goals. You have a great game. And then the next game you're going to go out, you're going to miss your first 3 shots. And you just got to have that respect your coach and just be upfront. You're like, hey, you're right. Sit me on the bench.
Yeah,
I need some time. And you're going to be the first one to stand up and cheer when your backup goes in and makes a big play. And that's the biggest thing. And that goes both ways, whether you're coming from the bench or from the court.
Yeah, 100%. Just supporting the guy. You're all in it together. At the end of the day, you got to win the game. You could play well or you can do whatever, but if you lose, it doesn't matter, because like my last season in France, the first half, I was killing it. I was killing every game in net, but we would lose. So at the end of the game, like, fans or the president of the club, everyone would come up and they'd be like, "Oh, you played a great game." I'm like, "Yeah, but we lost." Like, I got to do better. If the team isn't playing well, then in the end, like, it doesn't matter what I do. And if I don't play well and they play well on the attack or on defense, then we lose and we win as a team. So I think that's something I learned a lot. Every year you get the more veteran, the more kind of older you get, you kind of respect that part of the game, which I wish maybe I understood more when I was younger. Because
absolutely, and I'm the same way too. You don't know that when you're first starting out and when you're younger, but that's why every team needs a couple of vets to try and get that into the young guys who just don't understand that coming into league. So I think that leadership is such a huge thing on teams too. The good teams are the ones that have someone who's there fighting for the boys and who's there to pull you through the fire no matter what. Yeah,
and then like you said, it's gone into every aspect of my life, because we've played together with Team Canada. I played overseas in France. You were in France. I was in Denmark. You were in Denmark. We're all over the place. And every step of the way, you learn so much about yourself, about how you react to certain situations. And I think some people don't like sports. Some people don't understand sports, that it's more than just throwing a ball in a net. And I think that's something that you and I have really connected on because of what we've done together and what we've seen the other guy do. So,
yeah, absolutely. Just you listening back to your other podcasts about your life stories, about living cheaply and just scraping by, and all those experiences you go through. My goodness, I have some of those stories are just wild, and I can relate to them so much because they're not the same thing, but I did so many similar things that, oh my goodness.
Can you think of like a moment when you're like, man, I gotta save a couple pennies here, and I gotta eat this, or I gotta sell a jacket or something like this? Like,
oh my goodness, this wasn't me, but I was gonna go over to a friend's house. We were just gonna cook some dinner together. He's like, you know what? No, I'll come over to your place and I'll bring the meat. I said, okay, sounds good. Like, I'll get some other stuff ready. And so we go and he got these steaks. I'm like, okay, like, steaks. All right, sweet. We cook them up, eat them. And he's like, yeah, just so you know, those got thrown out last night behind the net on the dumpster. I fished them out. I'm like, nice. So we just ate steaks that got thrown out.
Dumpster steaks, baby.
They weren't even those pink stickers, 50% off. They were past that.
Hey, did they taste good?
If I wouldn't have known the difference.
That's hilarious, though. Yeah, I'm glad you liked your dumpster steaks.
Oh man, and apparently he does it all the time. There's like a good group of people in Denmark who really shouldn't be struggling because they get so much money from the government to study and everything. But after the Netto closes every night, they go back in there and just feast on all this stuff. There's so much stuff that you can still eat that just gets wasted.
Yeah, and like when I worked in the supermarket in France and stuff, they have like the throw stuff out bin where it's like, oh, it's expired and we can't sell this, and I'm just like, well, I'm taking that or I'm taking this. Like,
absolutely, it's still good, right?
Bike ride away from the store, so I'm like, taking all this, load up my bag. Here we go.
Along with the toilet paper and the meat.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And I remember they were throwing out an old display shelf. It was like plastic with the different like tiers, and you can break it down or whatever. So I broke it down. I wrapped it up with a bunch of like, the film where you wrap around like pallets and stuff.
Yep.
I wrapped it around a bunch, and then I got two of the guys at work to put on my back and then just wrap the film around me. So I'm riding my bike back, and it's like a sharp downhill and a steep uphill, and I just look like this turtle with this shelf, and like the film's like shifting and stuff going. I'm like, anything to get this shelf and save a couple bucks, like 100%.
Oh boy, that's unbelievable.
So for you, just for listeners that don't know, where have you lived, and when was the first time you went away? It was Clermont was the first one?
Yeah, so after I graduated from university, I went to France in Clermont-Ferrand. It's a little village just outside of Lyon. And I played there 1 year in N3. And we won the league and moved up to N2. And my plan was to go back there, but there was some difficulties with visas and contracts, etc. So then I took off to Denmark, and I lived in Aarhus, Denmark, the same place you were at a bunch of years earlier, and I played 2 years for Skov.
You don't have to say bunch of years earlier, like it just ages me. My birthday's up on Sunday. Like I don't need this. I can't have another midlife crisis. Like there's only so many your body can handle.
I'm losing my hair just as quick as you are.
Yeah, that's why I got the hat on. No one can actually.
Don't post this video. I fall.
Hey, it happens to all of us. Okay. The way I justify it, well, not justify it, the way I'm more comfortable with it is be like, I had a good life of long hair. Like I had good long hair experiences in my life. Let's do it as a balding man. See what we can do.
There you go. Why not?
So when we'll go back to, let's say when you first moved to France, what did you feel when you were, say, packing or you're on the flight over there? Because you didn't know anyone there before, right?
No, I didn't know a person in it. I just so many thanks to Alexis, our coach, who's done so much for me, for you, for our whole organization. My goodness, that man's really, really special place in mine, and I'm sure your heart as well. But yeah, so he set me up with this club through a couple of his ex-contacts in France, and said, get on a plane and go over there. And so I packed up 2 suitcases and said, here we go. I was looking for a guy named Cyril at the airport, and that's the only thing I knew. So I ripped into Lyon, and I'm kind of looking around, and of course these 2 guys see this just lost Canadian in the middle of France, just looking around for people. So they picked me up and got me some dinner at the airport, and then I just tried not to fall asleep after my big long travel day. And they were I was super lucky with the club because they were such a family-based club, and I lived with the president himself for the first month until I moved into my own place. And so I was really lucky with that. But the only thing I was thinking is like, what am I doing? Like, I'm going over here to follow this dream. And
Yeah.
I'd wanted to do it for a long time, so I had no regrets of it at all. But when you first get there, it's just like, wow, I'm actually doing this. I just moved to
Oh yeah.
somewhere where I don't have anybody else. It's yeah, I was really lucky that the club was awesome and they take you in with open arms and everything like that. But you don't know that before you get there.
Oh,
So
absolutely. When
you
I
just got
first
to do it. You
France,
just got to
man,
do it.
same thing. It's like, what? I was, I think I may have said this on an earlier podcast, but I was flying over Greenland, and it was the middle of the night, and it was a clear night, and I could see like the glaciers and stuff, and that's when it hit me, like, what the hell's going on here? Like, I just jumped on this plane, and see, at least you went and you spoke French. I didn't speak any French when I went too, so I'm like, well, I don't know this either, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, I was lucky to have did some French immersion through school, so I had a pretty good understanding. But I got there, and everyone's first thing they do is they just get there, and they're all smoking up in the change room after every game and practice in the showers, just trying not to die. That's one thing. Cigarette smoke, it just gets to me. So I'm like, oh, this is how it's gonna be, hey.
Did they was your
But the
team like that
camaraderie,
where they would
something
like
else.
where they would smoke before practice? Did you have guys that smoked before?
There's a couple guys who would before practice, not too many, but after a match, oh, there'd be so many beers and so many cigarettes going to that change room after. I mean, that was such a great bonding part about it, though. It's such a
Yeah.
community. There wasn't a game in Europe where I didn't drink a beer with my teammates after. Not even one time. I had at least one beer after every game. That's just part of it. You leave it all out on the floor, and then you hang out with your team after. And it's like a big family.
You got like 3 cases in the back of your minibus for your 4-hour drive back, and before you
Yeah.
know it, you're
Oh my
sleeping in your
goodness.
own bed.
Yeah, playing cards and drinking beers in the car. That's those minibuses.
So then after that, then you went to Denmark. How was your team in Denmark compared to your team in France? Because for me, all my teams in France, I loved them way more than when I played in Denmark. Because over there, it was more like just go in the net. You didn't, nobody really, maybe it's just the Danish way compared to French people where they're not as open or not as willing to speak a language they barely know. Because like French people always dick around. They'll say,
Oh yeah.
what is it? Where is Charlie or whatever? The one where they like find him. Charlie's in the kitchen or whatever the hell they say when they're learning English.
Yeah, that's all they can say though.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's literally that in thug life. I got that a lot too. Yeah, yes and no with that. When I first went to Denmark, I definitely felt a colder shoulder from the team. It was also because I felt like I was taking away a couple of the spots of people who were playing. Whereas in France, I had to work my way into it more, but in Denmark, I was slotted in a little bit higher. And don't get me wrong, I did earn and I worked for all the court time I got. And that's a huge lesson going over there. Is that you got to earn every single second you got on the floor, because there's another guy just as ready as you are to come on in after you. So my first season in Denmark, I felt it was a little bit more difficult to get in, but by the end of the first season, I started to speak a little bit Danish, and they started to accept me more on the team, and I started playing a bunch more, and it all just kind of came together. And then when I played my second season in Denmark, it was amazing. I was best friends with quite a few people on my team, whereas that'd be the big group of people that I was hanging out with outside of trainings all the time. So I really have a few good, close friends in Denmark, but it took longer than it did in France.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think they were more open. It just took a long time. So I got closer to them, but it took longer.
When you were at EHO, did you have that someone came and did the presentation where they described Danish people as like coconuts and like North American as like peaches or whatever? And I think so I think it was an Australian woman that was married to the tennis coach or something, and it was about her experience moving to Denmark, and she said North Americans or Australians and maybe French people too, it's kind of like a peach. So at the beginning they're soft and really sweet and kind, but eventually you'll get to the core where it's hard. whereas Danish people is a coconut because they're kind of hard and cold on the outside, and then once you crack in, then they're sweet, and then they'll help you as much as you can. So that was something that totally, it was just one of those assemblies we had, and it totally was true, because it's like
I was gonna say
the same for people here. They'll help you. They'll help you. Eventually, just get the hell out of my house. Like, figure out your own shit. But I've helped you for 3 weeks. Like, I'm sick of it. But
it wasn't your parents that just did that to you, was it?
yeah, well,
Just, yeah, I totally agree with that reference, though. When that was my experience, 100%.
Yeah. So then, the one thing I wanted to ask is something that you and I've talked about before, and Daryl and I've talked, like our friend Daryl, who travels a bunch and played overseas too, is coming
What a
home.
guy.
How do you feel coming home when you left France, then when you left Denmark, and then you come home and try to, like, for me, it's that next day I wake up in my room, my old bedroom, and I'm alone, it's quiet, and it's just like, what is going on? How is it for you when you come home?
It's surreal. It's something completely different. Yeah, especially after being gone for 3 years, coming home, it's just such a different culture over here, and different. Just my lifestyle is also so different, which is part of it, because here you work more steadily, you got more contacts, as in families closer by and friends too. And I don't know, I just find that it was like living a dream when I was over in Europe for so long. It's you just get snapped back reality when you get home. You're just like, wow, did that just happen? Those amazing 3 years went by so quickly, and I loved every second of them, even the hard times, the shitty times, because there are lots of those.
Those are almost the best times, the shitty times. Like in
After
retrospect,
they're done, looking back, absolutely, all the things you had to go through, and you're like, wow. I grew so much. You find when you're over there getting thrust into new situations all the time, you find out a lot about yourself, and you grow so much.
Yeah.
So I felt that. Yeah. Then you come home, and it just feels like it's
like for you. Oh yeah,
coasting along.
that's the thing. It just
flat.
Because you're younger than I am, but we're not going to go into how much. So, for me, I've been traveling and living abroad like 6.5, almost 7 years.
Yeah, double what I have. Yeah.
And then, so in that time, people get married, people have kids, whatever, but it's the exact same. Like maybe something big happens in their life, but then eventually it's the exact same as before. Like for you and say your friends or your family or whatnot, was it the exact same where it's like, the more things change, the more they stay the same, whatever that expression is?
Yeah, you come home and you just feel like you went back in time for however many years you were gone, and everybody's still pretty much the same person, the family, the friends. And I think that, yeah, when you go overseas like that and have so many new experiences all the time, you have to change in a positive way.
Yeah.
And then you come back here, and I think, lots of things did quite seem the same, as like rewinding your life, but you're not in the same place as you were before.
Yeah. I feel like I missed out on a bunch of inside jokes. That's the one that kills me, because like they'll have these fun stories or these great little insiders, and I'll be like, yeah, man, yeah, that's
remember cool. That. But you still got all the best music, and that's what counts.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I guess the last thing about kind of this topic was, did you feel when you got back that people treated you differently, like outside, like people when you go to practices in handball, but then also like friends when you'd see them, or family members or whatnot, or whatever whoever you're running into? Did you feel like they're like, oh, this guy's the world traveler now, or oh, this guy was playing sport at a high level, and then it's like, it's me, Greg, give me a break. Like, come on.
Yeah, I do find that, and I wasn't very good at keeping in contact with a lot of people when I was gone too. So except for my closer friends, which I would speak to quite a bit, lots of people didn't even know I was gone that I'll run into. They're just like, "What? You did this? You did that? That's wild." It's like, yeah, I had a good time, but but here I am. Like, I've changed. I've grown quite a bit as a person, but at the end of the day, I was just gone for a longer period of time than some other people go.
Yeah.
That's tough. And I think a lot of people do see you as more mature and grown up now that you've done all these crazy things and lived abroad for so long. I think people hold that in quite a bit of respect in some ways because it's so difficult to do. So I've noticed it in that regard for sure. How about you?
Yeah, it's very similar. I'm a lot more active online than you, so I think more people knew I was away. But I remember coming back, and then it was my buddy Rob, like Rob. It was his wedding and stuff. This was one of like the last times I came back, and it was just I was in France, so we're having like the bachelor party and stuff, and then I show up with what the hell is it, Miller, the gold cans of Miller or whatever.
High Life?
Miller High Life, and then it says champagne of beer, and they're like, "Oh no, this guy, like,
this French guy."
Yeah, and then I still get that if I pick up one of these. Oh, champagne de beer, I'm like, okay. But then, so besides just like razzing each other, which would normally happen anyway, everyone was supportive about it. They're like, "Oh man, that's awesome! Like you're doing what you should do," and at the same time, people that are telling me, man, I wish I was doing what you were doing, they're like, they own big houses and maybe they have a kid or something. And it's like, man, like I see it in a bad day when I'm living abroad. And it's like, am I doing the right thing or is he doing the right thing? Or is there a right thing? And so I guess that way is different. Like people would always tell me, oh, like, I love what you're doing. Like keep doing it. And one of my friend's parents, they're like, man, you can work your whole life. Just do this now while you can and do it as long as you can. And I'm like, you know what the hell? I'm going to do my best. COVID put a little pause on it, but things are.
No, I hear you with that. I was having a conversation a couple weeks ago with Ben. And Ben is one of Craig's friends out of the lake. And he was telling me how he had the chance to go over and play soccer over in England. And he gave up after 6 months and came back home. And so he's like, why are you coming home? You've only been there for 3 years. Keep pushing, like keep trying. You're going to break through. You keep wanting to do this. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what's been running through my head for years and years and years. Like I've loved it. I've seen myself get so far ahead and so much advanced, but it's like at the end of the day, it's such a hard decision, and COVID definitely played a role in my decision of coming back. But I'm not ruling out going somewhere again because it was an experience and a half.
Yeah.
So many stories to share that most can't be shared on this, but there's lots of them.
Maybe not this episode, but we'll get to a couple ones I could put a warning in on, and then we'll do that.
And Spotify kicks Lyndon out of his podcast.
There we go. This is now independent with my own website.
Banned for life.
Anyway, that's going to be it for today. I don't want to take any more of your time. It's beautiful evening going into the weekend. So I want to say, first off, thank you for being on. Thank you for listening, because you do write me back and tell me, oh, this, or that's hilarious, or I did the same thing. So I appreciate you listening to it. It's always nice to hear. So thank you.
No, I loved it, man. And it was my pleasure to come on and chat here with you and reminisce a little bit about the old days. And I'd love to do it back again. I know I don't have the podcast voice that you do, but
buddy, you're in space.
Stories got a little laugh here and there.
You're in space. How am I supposed to compete with that? I got a Malta flag and my dartboard that I bought when I went to your house.
I still have some holes in my wall.
Well, thanks again, Greg. That'll be I'll stop keeping you away for another 3-hour gym session. We can't all look like you, so anywho, and to everyone listening, thank you. This has been the Always Moving podcast again with your host, Lyndon Suvanto. And thank you, Greg. Talk again soon.